I would love to just talk about our Pisces full moon that is coming up, because there's a lot of weaving right now, and I'll invite you to always tune in to see what resonates with you and to just enjoy this exploration with me. There's a lot of different parts that I'm going to kind of weave in, because I feel like there are some pulls to different areas that would like to be talked about, and I'm not going to talk about everything because this video would be so long. So I'm just going to talk about the things that while I was prepping and just like grounding the information that came through that really wanted to be spoken on. So first, we're talking about the full moon in Pisces. So the full moon, and here I have the chart, so that's what I'm looking at. So and my notes. So we have the full moon on September 7th, and it's taking place at 11:08 a.m. Pacific time. So you can translate that to your time zone depending on where you're at. And this full moon is a lunar eclipse. So just in case if you're not familiar with what a lunar eclipse is, it's essentially when we're here on Earth and the sun is behind us and the moon is in front of us, and the shadow of the Earth is casted onto the moon. And that is why it is called a blood moon. And I thought it was pretty interesting because yesterday I had the thought pop in my head, because I was reflecting back to trying to remember what I had experienced when we had our lunar eclipse. I'm pretty sure it was a lunar eclipse in Virgo, because we got to see it, and I remember sitting outside for like a good chunk of time to just like meditate and be with the moon during it. And it was, and I always recommend that. So if you're in the line of totality anytime when there's an eclipse, obviously if it feels safe for you, because I know that there can be like per old texts that like bad things happen at eclipses, the energy is chaotic, and yeah, it can be those things, but it's normally just really pivotal times, and it's more so working on these levels that are allowing us to have like a shifting within the structural integrity of our beingness, or even our physical body, so that we can allow for recalibration towards what our soul's aspirations are. At least that's how I like to see it. But I was just thinking of the fact that, the moon being red, it made me think of, and especially because I was like, oh, it's the Earth's shadow casted on the moon. And if you think of like Earth more so representing our physical body, as we are beautifully an extension of Mother Earth, that there's these shadows that at this time we get to see that maybe we didn't see before. And I think this is really interesting because coming back to the red light, if you will, I just remember, so I don't know if this is true for like all animals, but I know when I was younger and I did go hunting, because that was a thing that my family enjoyed doing, but we would have like the flashlights with the red lights, because the the animals aren't as sensitive to that, so you can like look around and they won't be as like startled, if you will. Or sometimes they don't even like, they're like, how they're acting doesn't shift, like it doesn't alert them necessarily as a different light would. And I just found that to be like an interesting remembrance in my mind, because I was like, oh, it also took me back. I like telling a lot of stories, so I hope that's okay. But it also took me back to when I was at NORWAC this year, and it was Jason Hawley's conversation about, was it rewilding the zodiac, or I forget the title. If I find it, I'll put it here. But it was essentially just talking about, you know, like when we're stepping into the aspect of our chart that we're meeting these different animals, if you will. And I just thought like that has been like, you know, in the back of my mind within my contemplations, and it just arose more forward, because at this time it is where we get to witness more deeply and understanding these aspects of ourselves that have been lurking in the shadows, that have really been, I kind of want to say the word untamed, but it's not that it's bad that that aspect of us is untamed or wild, because there's a gift in that, but it's the lack of awareness of that aspect that potentially has been causing harm, because there's this aspect of oneself that might be wanting more freedom, but it requires an integration of that part and an understanding of that part, so that a relationship can be formed with that shadow aspect, and there can be a deeper union and integration in not getting rid of that shadow, so to speak, because, you know, our shadows are to be befriended. Like if there is light, there is a shadow, like at least in this physical realm. And you know, that's how we get to see things, that contrast. So I hope that made sense. And when we're talking about these shadows, so the sun and moon are both at 15 degrees. So the sun is 15 degrees in Virgo, and then the moon is 15 degrees in Pisces. And I just want to talk about the essence of 15. I was gonna get it, the tarot card. So one moment. So the reason why I want to talk about 15 is because 15 is, in the tarot, is the devil. So here, we can see that, and this might not be for everyone, but it could be for you. So just notice how it resonates. But when we have the devil, sometimes, and especially just because we're thinking of these shadows, it can bring about the awareness of areas where we've kind of been bound to materialism, or there's a lack of self-awareness because we're so entangled with the essence of pleasure or just the physical component of desire. And there is nothing wrong with desiring things, as I feel like, honestly, like we're in this physical experience to allow ourselves to enjoy the physical. But when we're thinking of the moon being in Pisces, there's this invitation to remember that, you know, if we've been so entangled within the physical components of our lives, have we actually been allowing ourselves to remember the other aspects, those more spiritual components, those subtle layers that exist? And have we been inviting in a deeper connection with that, so there can be almost this dissolving of these aspects that may not even be as important, or may not actually be the core desire that is actually even wanted. So at this time, full moons always represent an essence of tension, or there's this pool. I always like to think of it like, you know, when the ocean, the tides in the water swell more. And a lot of the times, yes, we can be more emotional, or things are a little bit more chaotic, if you will. But I just think of it as like, it's that which has been laying more so at the depths of our beingness. It gets to get pulled to the surface so we can have a moment to witness it. Because even though it's going to be a blood moon, despite that, it's a full moon, even though there's an eclipse. And during the full moon, it's brighter at night, so we can see a bit more. And there's not necessarily as much in the shadows, or it's like there's things in the shadows, but you get to see them a little bit more, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to kind of notate that. So if there is any essences that you have been struggling with, be it something in regards to maybe like unhealthy things that those crows are going crazy outside. So if there is anything, be it specific addictions, or just being very, even like in this space of not being able to make decisions, and not being committed to things, and just trying to seek the next thing that like brings you pleasure, to take a moment to actually tune in and to see what is it that you're actually trying to grab that's outside of yourself, and is that thing that you're actually desiring something that's already inside. And, you know, with the hope of realizing that internal essence is like allowing yourself to be more connected to your source, and to this like collective source that we're all a part of, and then that being the doorway to open up the essence of being able to receive more. All right, so I feel like that was a little long, but nonetheless, so when I'm recording this is on September 5th, so I'm going to talk about this very briefly. So Uranus is stationing retrograde today. It's like 9, did I write down the time? 9:51 p.m. my time, Pacific time, so it might be on the 6th of September for you. And I just want to notate this because the essence of Uranus is kind of already surprising, and it can be sporadic, but I feel that this is an invitation that we're going to continue into next year, because we're going to have more eclipses in Pisces and Virgo, but it's an invitation for deeper integration. Anytime, like in an esoteric lens, that we're thinking of Gemini, because Gemini is essentially, in this school of thought, it creates like triangles with the other signs to allow for fusion or deeper harmonizing. And Uranus just being an important essence to think about when we're thinking of integration. So when we remember our shadow aspects or those inner parts that maybe we haven't actually met fully yet and getting to meet them. And also Uranus is, and you may not resonate with this when I start talking about hierarchical rulership, because when I know this is just like a little so when I talk about different rulers for the signs, it will depend on where you're at in your own soul's evolution. And it's not to say that like someone is more ahead of you or advanced, but I mean we're all on that journey, so indeed. But anyways, so I will trust that I'm being told to speak about this, so it must be meant for whoever's watching. So Uranus is the hierarchical ruler for Aries. And you might be like, Lisette, why are we talking about Aries when it's the Pisces full moon? And the reason I want to talk about this is because, so this essentially, I'm giving all this information because this is like to support in the months to come. So Uranus being that hierarchical ruler of Aries, so if you've been feeling like there's something that's like, I don't want to say boiling, but there's this heat, there's something, right? But maybe you don't fully know what it is, right? And Uranus is that essence. It's, it's kind of something that just like, it's that lightning bolt that you can think of, like the tower moments, if you will. Those things that just happen and then it's like, but there's so much profound expansion within it. And basically I'm saying this because the way that we're working with this Pisces full moon, because Saturn dipped back into Pisces and Saturn will eventually go back into Aries, so that's why we're connecting Uranus with Aries here for the hierarchical ruler, that we're being invited to solidify this like essence of the foundation of how we've been building our connection to our light body, for lack of better words, because that in itself is like a whole thing. My phone did not record the full thing. So kind of summarizing, because honestly I think I talked for a really long time, and now I'm on my laptop. So basically, the reason why I was just talking about Uranus and this essence of awareness of Aries, because that being an energy that we're being like prepped to integrate more physically and like within the structure of our experience, if you will, and the structure of our experience being like all levels of our beingness. And at this time, with the Pisces full moon, since we have the North Node, which represents sometimes the direction, right, the way we're going, but also it can represent the, like, sometimes there can be too much excess, too much of absorbing in the area of the North Node, that in order to allow ourselves to continue to move forward and to expand and to grow in a sustainable way, it requires a letting go and an honoring of things. And when we think of Pisces, a Pisces is a sign that is much more empathic and has an awareness of these deeper threads of connection. It's the sign that moves between these seen and unseen realms. So when we're thinking of this, as we are moving through this time with our eclipses, we're always invited to kind of like review our contracts, if you will. So we could think of like our karmic or soul contracts. And of course, some of these might not be fully conscious in our awareness, but I feel like when we're reflective of our life and we see similar themes or threads, and noticing if we keep choosing the same habits, the same patterns, this is a time where all of that is coming to the surface, so we can bring greater awareness, so then we can find release, so we can detox from these things that are no longer serving us at a soul level. And in that letting go, especially when we think of the interconnectedness between us and other things, other places, and just other realms, that sometimes we can just like have these let's say these aspects or these parts that we've chosen to carry, but they're not even ours. And allowing for awareness of one's individual self, and still honoring the connection, but to be more rooted. So when we think of the sun over in Virgo, to be more rooted in our body and to really honor our needs, so that we can actually show up and be in greater service. And going back to our devil card, and the number 15, if we add that 5 and the 1 together, which I thought was so interesting, and just thinking of, or I guess I should say the 1 and the 5 together, but I just thought it was so interesting, and just thinking that, 1 can be this essence of the individual, the self, and then 5 being that number of like change or challenge and freedom. And, when we combine that 1 and 5, we get the number 6. And 6 is all about the essence of love and harmony, responsibility, and service to others. And that is the essence that is being invited at this time. So how can we be in integrity? How can we have reverence, so deep respect and trust and faith, and move at this time in a way that supports our own self-undoing, so that we can have deeper connection with ourselves and with others, and also continue to come back to the heart of what it is that we stand for, that we care about, that we're passionate about, that we love, that we value. And that in itself is that essence. So I will say also the essence of like really allowing for a deepening within intuition and creativity and ambition as well, could be really supportive at this time. So however that's showing up for you. So maybe you want to like really map out the details for goals. Don't do too much at this time. Do just enough so that you don't get burnt out, and so that things don't get overwhelming, so you can stay in flow and really take it one day at a time. Especially, as we move through the rest of this year, but for sure in this month of September, and enjoy some of the unexpected surprises, even if at first they seem like they're not great. Just like, even though it may be hard just breathe and have a little bit of faith, because there are things that these energies invite in that sometimes we can't like logically make sense of until maybe it's like hindsight. So I do hope that all of that is supportive along this journey for you. And if you would like to sit within sacred space, I am hosting a full moon circle on September 7th, the day of our full moon, and it's from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific time. And I chose this time with the intention for us to be together during the actual peak of the eclipse. So that is my intention there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the eclipse energy and specifically like you figuring out where it's speaking to in your chart. And then we'll do some sharing, some celebrating, because that is very key. I think, whether we realize it or not, at all moments there is something to celebrate. Things are always changing, and sometimes we forget to honor those changes that have taken place. And then we'll be doing a gentle, like, breathing practice, and then yoga nidra, and then there'll be sound for integration, and then we'll do some closing shares and reflections. So if you want to join that, you can find that information on my website or down below in the description. And you can also join the Cosmic Garden, and that will give you access to the moon circles if you do the Moonflower tier or the Sacred Grove tier. And yeah, I'm excited to step through this little eclipse portal, if you will, or big. I don't know. I feel like it's definitely big, but I feel like if you have been already tuning into the energies of it, I don't think it'll hit you. I know that sounds aggressive, huh? But yeah, I honestly don't. I don't think it'll hit as hard. And I think that, like, if you've been already listening to the calls that your body has been asking you to take, and you're truly listening, then it's like, indeed, just flow. And yeah, so indeed. And then, of course, if you are ever desiring some deeper support on a more personal level, I do offer one-on-one sessions. So I do chart readings, and then I also do integrative healing sessions, and that is a mixture of different modalities depending on where you're at on your journey and what technique or modality works best with you. So I generally focus on sound, Reiki, and breath, and then some crystal healing as well. So yeah, all of that information down below. Let me know how you're feeling during this time period, and let me know if there's anything that you're wanting to know, any resources that you were like, I wish I had this. I know I haven't made a sound journey in a little bit, so I am planning on doing that. So if there is any specific sound journey intention that you would like me to hold within my heart or to create, I would love to hear it. And yeah, all right, take care until next time. Have a wonderful full moon in Pisces, and take it easy. Bye.